I want to welcome you to the Ask Jeff YouTube channel. Here's today's question. Why would Jesus hold Nicodemus accountable for not knowing what, quote, born of water and spirit means in John chapter 3? Jesus' public ministry hadn't begun yet during that time period, or is he making an Old Testament reference to something else? Well, fascinating question about one of my favorite characters in the Bible, a man by the name of Nicodemus. And here I think is the key to the story of Nicodemus. It's what Jesus refers to him as in that story. He refers to him as a, quote, master of Israel. And he says, how do you as a master of Israel not know these things? Now, I'll be completely forthright. The term master of Israel is not found in your Old Testament. It's not even found in history. Most of people, including myself, believe essentially in the context of the story, what Jesus was saying is, you're like the head theologian. You should know more about the Old Testament than anybody else. How do you not get this? Well, being born of water is pretty simple. We all have experienced a physical birth. It's that spirit part. How did he not understand? And remember, Nicodemus comes to Jesus at night saying, what must I do? He's not trying to confirm his legalistic, sacrificial system. He's honestly, genuinely asking, what do I do? In fact, he even says, we know you're of God. Nobody who's not of God could do the things you're doing. Here's what I think is important. Yes, Master of Israel, Old Testament. Ezekiel chapter 37, what does it talk about? God blowing, the Spirit of God blowing on the bones, and they come to life. You go even back to Genesis chapter 1, verse 2, it talks about the Spirit of God over the waters, okay? What we know in the Old Testament is that when God moved, he breathed, he blew. The wind is so critical. How did God part the waters of the Red Sea? An eastward wind. I could go through a dozen analogies. What we discover is all throughout the Old Testament, the concept of wind and air was synonymous with the Spirit of God, that he is moving and breathing. How did Adam become a man? God breathed in him and he became a living soul. At the end of the day, what Jesus was criticizing him was not his lack of knowledge of the Old Testament, but his lack of understanding of what that was meaning, that the Spirit of God is what leads to a second birth, i.e. salvation, not just a, quote, salvific, what we might call sacrificial system. It's a great question. If you have one, send to AskJeff.net. Maybe your question be tomorrow's. Thank you so much for being a part of our daily question here at the Ask Jeff YouTube channel. I want to encourage you on a few things. Number one, if you have a question to ask, submit it to AskJeff.net. Eventually, we'll get around to your question. Secondly, we'd encourage you to subscribe. That way, each and every day, Monday through Friday, you get a reminder of our question of the day. And last but not least, I want to remind you that on Wednesday evenings, live at First Baptist Church of Opelika, fbcopelika.com, we do a solid hour of Ask Jeff where we dig into the questions more than just 60 or 90 seconds. Sometimes we take the entire hour. All that being said, AskJeff.net is where you submit a question to this channel each and every day, Monday through Friday.